Hi everyone, and welcome back to the channel. This is your host Carmina, astrologer and card reader. And today we have with us a very special guest, PRASHANT TRIVEDI. Hello, PRASHANT.
Yeah, nice to be here, Carmina. Yeah.
I don't really need to make like a very extended introduction because the work that he does speaks for him.
Yeah, it's nice to talk to Romania.
I've seen you in another interview that some of these ancient Vedic texts that are being quoted a lot, they have a lot of corruptions. So they have like a lot of things added over time because, you know, the tradition was oral, the information was transmitted orally, and then when it became written, yes, like you don't even know, you know, what parts are there and what parts are not there anymore. So maybe we can start with that. Maybe we can start like an overview of the Brihat Parashara Ora Shastra. I'm not going to go through every chapter, but what do you think is the corrupted part there? What do you think shouldn't be there, like judging by the style of writing and all that?
Okay. For this, we should go about it in a different way from my point of view. Is first you have to understand that if there is a rishi, okay, rishi is a being which is knows a whole lot of things. Okay, they know a whole lot of functionings of this multiverse. They are a being in the know. You know, let's say they are being in the know. They know things exactly and properly. It's not like some sort of vague thing they have. Okay, and if their mentality is something about anything, is that if they teach a student, like they rishi kuls, gurukuls, they teach a student, they're going to speak to them in a way where they'll first tell them some sort of lay them a foundation first for them. Okay, so foundation in Jyotish is, for example, what is first house? Okay, what is second house? What is third house? These are foundationary things. Okay, now a rishi will say that, okay, first house is this, second house is third. But after that, they will not say that if the first house lord goes to third, what will be the effect? Why will they not say that? Because they want the student to figure out.
Yes.
Because they've told what is first house, told what is third house. So now they want them to be able to connect the dots. Between the two, if first lord goes to third, then what would that mean? If the combining of the things, okay, so if third house is short journeys and fast, quick actions and initiative,
courage.
So if your ascendant goes there, then you have quick journeys. You don't mind quick journeys. You don't mind taking initiative. All those things automatically come into play, and with connection to other houses, they would let them make that derivation. So a rishi will never say, okay, first lord and third means this.
Yes, because it's too limiting, right?
Yeah, they will never say something like that. Okay. Now the problem what happens is, for people who are going into this thing, I think people are not qualified to study Jyotish in the first place. That's what my personal view is. Okay. So after that, if you start studying any Parashara Shastra or anything, you will not be able to tell what is what is right, what is wrong. You know, it's called separating milk from water. A swan does that. Okay, so if you're not a swan, you'll not be able to do that. My point is that you need a lot of things previously. You have to have a certain kind of lifestyle, you have to have a certain kind of mentality to even go into Jyotish. Now it has become anybody just sits up any day and then they start studying Jyotish. Okay, that's how it is right now. Okay, in the ancient times, in the Vedic times, that wasn't so. You know, the being which went into Jyotish, even Parashara's own students, would have a lot of foundation in their speech, in their living, and in their lifestyle, in their whole way of being, and other sciences. They would have a lot of things there before they even go into it. You know, so according to me, for example, in Parashara Shastra, there is the name of the nakshatras are there.
Yes.
Yeah, and just the name was there. Not much.
Yes, they don't. He doesn't mention
anything. Okay, so obviously now he would have told something to his students about them, but that's not there right now. It's not recorded. Let's say it's not recorded, it's not there. Okay, so there are parts which are not there like that. Then there are parts which are there, houses this thing, which I don't think a rishi will go about it like that in the first place. Okay, that's not the way. So that has been added in some later time, you know. And another thing with Sanskrit language also is that people don't understand this about Sanskrit, that Sanskrit is a very personalized language. Personalized means like when two rishis use Sanskrit, they don't use it the same.
Yes, so Rishi Jaimini would be different than Rishi Parashara.
Yeah. Gemini is a Muni, not Rishi, but yes.
Oh, it's not a Rishi.
Okay, so rishis are a higher level thing. Okay,
yes,
they are ones who create worlds, right? They create they can create this kind of world like completely, like, so they are at a different level. Okay, so Munis are at a lower level. Okay, so the thing is, anyways, Sanskrit is a language which is open source. Let's say it's an open source Unix operating system sort of thing. Okay, it is not, you can make up new things in it. Okay, and there is no rules as such. Okay.
So how do we have a chance to really translate what was?
You don't, like, because in English, if you have a sentence called "this is a cup," okay, now it can only be said "this is a cup." Sanskrit is not like in cup. Sanskrit will be cup. This is cup.
Yes.
This is a.
It's more flexible.
Anything is okay. Okay, like there is no such limitation on that language. Okay, so the point is that rishis, when they have their own style, own new words, own things, okay, which obviously if their student is there, they'll understand what that is. It's a new language, basically. It's a lingo, because Sanskrit has these basic root terms and stuff, and they knew that these terms mean these basic things. So they could combine those basic alphabets in any way and shape and form and create words. And create new words. It's evolving language.
It's like a dialect. Every rishi has their own dialect.
More than dialect, they have their own words. They will form new words. Sanskrit is never a thing which is now, this is Sanskrit and it's done.
It's a living language, yes.
It's a living language. So it is like you can make words anytime you want. So anybody can take that thing, if they have enough understanding of the basic alphabets in their meanings, then they can combine them to create and represent things in this multiverse. Okay, they can do that. Okay, so it's not a, so it's not such a, and it's like a code. Like, I mean, if some code writer writes a code, another code writer might not be able to understand it because they have gone about it in their own way, like, you know. So that's how it is with Sanskrit. But most important thing out here is there is a language problem, and the second thing is the mentality problem. Okay, now with rishis, the mentality is of a certain kind. Okay, like rishis would never be concerned like how many cows somebody would have, or
yes, they wouldn't be concerned really with predictions, right? Like we are now.
I mean, obviously they're not concerned about who will get a job, not get a job.
Yes, like mundane things.
They have no concern about stuff like that. Okay, so their mentalities are a very different plane completely. I mean, so that what my point is, over time people have added these things depending on the way the situation was for them. Like if someone is in agricultural society, then they will add things, okay, where the crop will be good next season or not good next season, or what this, as per their situation and circumstance, people will keep on interpreting these things. But to say that that is coming from the rishi will be a wrong
overstatement
completely, like, because their mentality is totally aloof from all these kind of things completely, like, so what level they are thinking on is totally different. Like if like Parashar is saying 5th and 9th house of Lakshmi Sthan, Lakshmi, okay, there's that thing of Lakshmi, then people today will think that, oh, they give money. Okay, that's the today's interpretation of Lakshmi.
Yeah, that's the value of today.
So Lakshmi, okay, now Lakshmi can mean a lot of things. Lakshmi is Lakshya means goal. Okay, and achievement of that goal is Lakshmi. Okay, that's where the word luck comes from. Lakshmi is the luck factor which allows you to get to your goal. And so it's not about money at all in that kind of way. And the goal in the old times was always evolution. To be in a better state than what you are at any given point in time. Okay. I mean, there cannot be any other goal for any being, really. Okay. I mean, like whatever state they are in right now, to be in a better state than what they are in, that can be the only goal. for any being. Like they cannot be, from Rishi's, point of view, that is the only goal.
The spiritual goal is the only goal.
Spiritual, material, anything is a state. Like you are a being as a state. Your state is a complete, like a sigma function. It's a complete whole. Now, as a whole, you want this ball or state to move up. As a whole, that is your only goal. You cannot have any other kind of goal. Okay.
I was thinking when you were telling me that these rishis are, not really preoccupied, I was thinking of more like a Jupiterian mentality rather than a Venusian approach, because Venus was like the teacher of the Asuras, and he was said to be a better astrologer because he was, doing more practical things. And Jupiter maybe doesn't talk so much and is more concerned with the natural law and things like that.
Okay. First thing we have to understand, rishis are very practical. If you want to create a world, if you want to create a earth, if you want to create anything, you need to be practical, right, to create a world. Like, so they are very practical. There's nothing, they're not lacking in practicality in any kind of way. Okay. And as far as Jupiter and Venus are concerned, both would have their own kind of practicality. Okay. And there is like the Venusian practicality comes in terms of different areas. Jupiter in practicality covers different areas, but they are both practical in their own way and approach, So, and being the guru of demons is more of a tougher job, let's say. so you need to have more tact.
Diplomacy, like Venus.
More tact is required with Venus rather than anything else. So, as far as rishis are concerned, they're quite practical, and they understand that everything, if you're evolving as a whole, that is a practical thing. There's no more practical thing than that. Okay. So they're obviously concerned about the practical. I think people of right now, they're not practical. Okay. By comparison, they're quite impractical. They do things without actually knowing what they're doing at all. And there can be nothing more impractical than that. And it's dangerous. Like if a kid puts their hand into a plug and they don't know electricity comes into it and they get zapped.
Yes.
It's people are on that kind of state right now in this world. Okay. They have no clue what they're doing. Okay. And Jyotish kind of science is very strong science. Let's say it's a science which gives the whole functioning of the whole multiverse as a whole. So of this particular dimension or this particular existence. So it's a technical science, and it's not for this kind of approach which people have right now. So and for them to be able to understand what is wrong and right in Parashar, Hora Shastra, is impossible in the way they are right now. Okay. I would tell them just take it as a whole. Do not go into it, Jim saying, in that kind of way, because there is so much that thing, you just come to know the names of stuff. For example, you'll come to know the names of Rashis. Now that is right.
Yes.
Okay. Or you come to know the name of nakshatras. Okay. You come to know that these things exist first. For that purpose, it's okay. Just to know that some things like this exist or is there. Okay. But any further part in the elaboration of it, that will be a problem. For example, if people start giving colors to Rashis, like you were talking.
Yes. I was asking you because there are so many different texts that assign different colors to different Rashis.
Yeah.
Like Gemini. Yes. Is it blue? Is it green? Is it brown? What is it?
Yes. Okay. Now what happens? Now, if you look at a Rashi, Rashi has got 2.5 nakshatras, right? Now, each nakshatra will have its own colors, right? So, all those colors which are in those nakshatras, Mekshira, Ardra, Punarvasu, will fall under Gemini, right? So, Gemini can't have one color. It cannot have a singular color because it has these 2.5 nakshatras which have their own colors, multiple colors, each one of them. So, all those colors will have to come under Gemini. So, and then it's a Lord. So you can understand Lord is Mercury. So some greenish tinge will be a primary color.
Yes.
For Gemini. Okay.
Like for Mars, you can see Mars is red. You look at the sky when Mars is retrograde, like you see it's red.
Yeah. So reddish, like Q for like a Scorpio and Aries will be there. It's like a primary color.
Yes.
Keep saying. But then there are other colors which are there in the nakshatras. That's not the only color. And if people just start making that's the only color. Like the blue will come from Adra. Okay. Blue of Gemini will come from Adra. Okay. Okay. And in nature, Mrikshara deals with all kinds of colors.
Yes.
Different flowers, different things. So like it deals with a lot of pastels. So then there is different hues.
Variations, yes.
Variations, hues of the colors even. Exactly. Not just colors, we're talking about different hues and things. Okay. So all this confusion will only come if you're trying to make one thing, and rishis are not so dumb or daft to give a singular color to a rashi.
Yes. Because people recommend so often like gemstones and things like that. So, you know.
The gemstones also, I mean, again, another important point you raised. Gemstones, okay, like any color, like is an amplifier.
Yes, okay. Definitely.
If you're wearing red, you're amplifying the Martian energy. Okay. So the thing is that a gemstone is an amplifier. Okay. So it'll amplify the energy of a graha. It's much more an amplifier than clothes.
Yes.
It's a stronger amplifier. Okay. Like, so it'll amplify. Now, graha will give all kinds of results. One graha gives multiple kinds of results. Now the amplifier will amplify all kinds of results. It's not going to look at
exactly
X result, but not the Y one, not the Z one. It will amplify everything, all of the results. Okay. So the thing is to give that just like that to a person, unless you know that the graha is absolutely favorable in all ways to a being.
Is quite impossible.
Yeah, there are grahas which will give mostly good results, but to find that and know that again requires a technical knowledge of the science properly, which again people don't have. Like that's why I've been telling in a lot of my interviews that people should not get into Jyotish until they have their living foundations and a whole Vedic understanding first, because this is Vedic astrology. You have to have the foundation there. After that, you can understand where a rishi is coming from. If you, for example, understand where a rishi is coming from, what is their point of view, then you yourself can tell that this is not it. You can pick up any book or anything and you can say like, no, this doesn't sound right to me. This doesn't sound right. But you have to get that point of view first. So my thing is to always get to that point of view first, rather than just straight away jumping in and getting confused.
Yes.
Because for a normal person, everything which is said on every YouTube channel, every thing is the right thing. Every rule, everything they hear is.
Well, I tell people, you can test it yourself and see if it works. You don't take my word or another person's word. Just test it on 100 charts. Just test on 1,000, and then you see.
Yes, and the thing is, a lot of times people are testing. It works sometimes, doesn't work sometimes.
Yes.
They get confused because sometimes it works, sometimes it does not work. Okay. So again, there's a lot of confusion in that kind of thing as well. And if they apply on themselves as well, sometimes people take the word like this is the case and they can get down upon themselves. So somebody would say, oh, you have a bad time, or bad thing is going to happen. Okay, this thing. Now, even if it does not happen, for 2 years right now, they'll be in tension.
Yes.
Because they've got some idea in their brain and stuff like that, which I am saying like it's like playing with fire. I mean, all like people are doing this Jyotish is a dangerous thing. I find it's dangerous to actually go into this kind of thing without any kind of basics or like foundation or a Vedic foundation or grounding or having a proper thing where you are ready to actually separate the wheat from the chaff, milk from water, where you are ready to do that. Internally, psychologically, you are sorted enough to actually go into this. Because without internal proper psychological sorting, I don't think it's good to go into the science at all. So I don't think it's the right thing. And rishis would never agree to beings not having the right posture, right diet, and then learning Jyotish. no rishi would ever teach any people of right now anything. Okay, so then that's the reality. I'm telling you, this is the actual reality. Because in those days, it's not a book thing. You know that they're not just going to write a book and somebody's going to read the book and learn something. Yeah, that's not their style. Anyways, I mean, the learning would happen in person only, and in person, the person would have to behave. They would have to have discipline. They would have to have all those things, and they are seeing them all the time, 24/7. Okay, so there's nowhere to run. There's nowhere to like hide. You know, like that's the sort of situation under which learning actually happens. Okay, real learning. It's not just this kind of, like read some book, see some channels here and there and that thing, and just get X, Y, Z inputs and stuff like that. That's not the way learning is done, at least in the way they think.
Yes.
And people can get a false sense. They can get a false sense of knowing I know something. But reality is you really don't know anything. Okay.
It's true, because these days people are very focused on the mental and accumulating a lot of information, becoming like vending machines of information.
Yeah.
But you have to balance that with some, like you say, connection to nature and like observing things yourself. Like look at the stars, understand the planets, look around you. You see a fruit, you think of Jupiter. You see a flower, you think of Venus. So it has to be more like integrated, not just, okay, now this is astrology and this is my life, but like the world, it's like you have to see it, like everything.
For that, you have to be sincere and genuine, right? You have to have sincerity, right? For that, what do you need? Sincerity and genuine.
Yes.
For example, even if you look at a fruit, like you said, fruit, like a lot of fruits are Venus as well, and a lot of fruits are Jupiter. Okay, Jupiter, Venus both like sweet. Okay, both the gurus like sweet taste. Okay, now the point is like knowing which one is which will require a certain level of like understanding and clarity. Okay, like which fruit. I mean, in India, like there are a lot of fruits which are not even known in the West. Okay, so like which one is which each as a whole, like you'll have to really work towards getting that. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So like people make generalizations, and that's what the problem is. Okay, that the people say Venus is flowers, but Venus is fruits too. Who's saying
Venus is a lot of things.
yeah, so Venus is fruit as well. Like so there are a lot of these fun things, like I'm saying. But the point is, more important is that you yourself as a being are in a right place. Okay, in a centered place where you can observe, where you don't distort the observation, where you don't lose yourself or go crazy with the data. Okay, because if the data comes in and it's incoherent, it'll create a problem in your mind. Finally, it will create a bundle of incoherence, which is called madness or lunacy or whatever you might call it. Like Jim saying, it's not going to be useful, that data. Jim saying, because the whole thing is about processing the data. So for that, you have to be sorted. It's like a sorting machine. Sorting, like if you put some data into it, sorts it out.
Yes.
Yeah.
But these days, a lot of people, including myself, they come to astrology also when they have like problems and they try to explain like, why is this happening in my life and things like that. So, that's how they come across astrology.
Yes, that's good. Okay, that tells you that, okay, there is something from the past, okay, which has some action in the present. What does that tell you? That tells you that problems of right now are not necessarily created by right now, but they can be created from some past thing too, which is your map or your chart, which is the karmas which you have, okay, which is creating the problems in the right now. It gives you a sense of that there is a past, there is a present, and there will be a big future. Okay, it gives you a sense of past, present, and future. Okay, so then it says, okay, like, okay, from the past actions, this is happening right now. Because of that, now my present actions will make my future. Okay, in the same that will be the case. So it's just to get to an understanding that if something is happening, it's not unfair. Like, because people think everything is unfair. It's very fast. People it should not happen to me. It should not, something unfair. It doesn't happen to that person, but it happens to me. So the universe is unfair.
Yes, they don't see the natural law, like the divine plan.
Yeah. So they think it's unfair. Like, I mean, that's the whole thing. That's the bratty response to that. I mean, Jyotish tells you it's not happening because like there's unfairness. It's like you have different karmas and the other person has different karmas.
Exactly. It's not a punishment. It's just like a teacher, you know, it's teaching you this experience to learn something.
It
Like
is
you
a
break.
punishment too. You can see it as a punishment as well. I mean, that's fine. I mean, but the punishment is also a lesson. They have to be realistic about it. They have to be realistic about it. Okay, it's a punishment, and whatever you have to get out of the punishment. Or what do you do then to get out of the punishment? What right action to do to get out of that sense of like whatever you have reached? Okay, so that's the important point, that people actually are realistic about it. To get a sense of realism into things, that's Jyotish's thing. So even if people go into astrology because of that, that's okay. Because to me, Jyotish is just the gateway to Vedic world. Okay, like if someone reaches Vedic astrology, then it's it's a door to go into the Vedic world. Okay, it's not an end in itself. Because they'll try other systems of astrology and stuff, and then they find, and they reach Vedic astrology, they find, oh, this system is better, it is more accurate, and it works more, and then that gives them a doorway into Vedic thing. That's all it is. Okay, it should not stop there. It should not stop at this point that I've gotten in. Okay, it's a very good thing people go into it once they get something strange in their life, what they don't like, or something unpleasant, something negative which they find.
Yes.
Yeah, and then obviously you look for answers. Okay, but that can happen to some people even if they are young. They are 4 years old and that thing, and they find that why are they here and what is happening. They want answers even then. You know, nothing unpleasant needs to happen to them before people start asking questions. But some people only start asking questions after something happens to them. That's also okay. Then they start asking questions. Then they get into this. But then they should not think that they'll become masters of this thing. It's just a actual doorway for them to get into Vedic thing as a whole, so that they can improve their life in existence as a whole, and then they start rising as a whole. Like if they're a being like this, they start rising up from that point, because that's the whole point. Because if you rise up, then you'll have more pleasure, less pain, everything will be better. Okay, so that's the whole point of the whole exercise. And right now in Jyotish and astrology, right now, how the way it is being dealt with, that is not the point. Point is not to rise. Okay, point is to just somehow figure out, okay, when will I get more money? When will I get more job? When can I get married? My marriage, that thing broke. When can I get married again? Whatever. That Jyotish ceases to be a science and reality anyways. Jyotish does not work for that kind of thing, for people being crazy. I mean, it's not a science for craziness. Okay, it's a science of reality. Okay, so
people who come to you like with these questions.
Yeah, if you see at my website, OSFA's website, there's only reading which is allowed is only spiritual question. Mm-hmm. I don't allow any other type of question, because to me spiritual material is the same thing actually. But the thing is that you have to rise as a whole. A person should be interested in rising. Okay, so a person should be able to say like, okay, I want more pleasure. I want to get better. I want to have a better existence. A person, if they have this affirmation, if they can say these things from their mouth all the time, and they can repeat that over and over again, I want to have a better existence, I want to have a better existence, then only they are even worthy of going into any of this thing. You know, if you're not interested in that, okay, then I don't know what you're doing in this. Why are you asking any question of any kind? You know, it makes no sense. Okay, either you want a better existence or you don't. Okay, I mean, and if you do, then you will want to know how that can be achieved. Okay, that is, then there are practical steps, whatever you are ready to take to do that. But if you don't want to know that, then what is the point of going into this? Okay, and whatever people can consider mundane or things and stuff like that, obviously that can be told by Jyotish. It's not like Jyotish cannot tell when you will get your next job. It can tell you that. It can tell you when you'll get your next job. It's within its
power. But one should not limit yourself to just that.
Yeah,
right?
That is very much, it can tell you all those things. Okay, but okay, you will get your new job, then what? Then what?
Exactly.
You're only satisfied when you're moving up. No one is satisfied if they're moving down. If you're feeling internally you're going down, you'll never be satisfied. Satisfaction only comes from moving up. Okay, like you know that you're getting better. That's the only satisfaction a being, any being, anywhere, not only on earth or anywhere in this multiverse can experience, is when they are actually learning, evolving as a whole. Like that's the only time. That is automatic satisfaction. You don't even have to work for that satisfaction. It is automatic once you're evolving, like that is an automatic satisfaction. So Jyotish was a science which was gear you towards that. And not to make generalizations, people are talking about all these grahas, Jupiter and Venus, in a very strange way. Oh, Venus gives, the Venus that. It's very, let's say, disrespectful. Oh, this planet is like that. Oh, Saturn is like that.
Yes, like judging
judging the Mercury.
Saturn,
like
poor Saturn is so judged like every day.
Like you're saying, so people are judging these things when they can't even, they're not in a position to judge anything. They don't know enough. They know nothing. Okay. And they're judging these things which are way above them and beyond them. It's called audaciousness. In English, there's a word called audacity. Okay. This is audacity. It's audaciousness, which it's a bad karma. You can't do certain things. If you do them, then there'll be a price. Okay. And that price will not be fun. Most of the people's horoscope is not a horoscope, it's a horoscope. Okay. So like if you have the horror, then you have to learn now. Obviously, if you are here, then obviously you've done something wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah. So like the Jyotish and Rishis are like higher than the grahas even. Okay.
Yes.
I mean, because these grahas, the Jupiter and Venus, they are sons of the Rishis.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. They're the sons. Okay. So they are like at a higher point in these beings. So to get into them and just think that they will have a book. I mean, I find that Parashara thing, and which will be just there for you to read and just learn from, that's just a ridiculous notion in itself. Okay. Yeah. I mean, to get to in front of a Rishi right now, a person thought like if there is a Rishi there and if I had to meet them and deal with them, how should I deal with them? How should I be? That's a very, very big important point, because that's the important thing for learning.
Mm-hmm.
The Rishis don't want to teach you anything unless you have a proper behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So according to me, any human being should be first learning proper body language. Okay. Body discipline, body control, and behavior. Forget about anything else. Nothing else is important at all. Peace Gita is like a sort of a basic thing for everyone. It's not just for people who learn astrology. Any person should read that and get an idea of like what, if you're a human being on this earth, what is expected of you. Basically. First. Okay. And if you do that, then only you can learn any other science or go into more secondary, tertiary things. Once you do that primary. So that Peace Gita book is all about that. And any student of astrology, I tell them first read this before you even go into astrology. Because I find a lot of fundamentals about beingness are not clear to people before they, like you said, they go into astrology once they face problems on this earth. They think that they're invincible first and nothing wrong is going to happen to them, but bad things happen and they wonder why. So their mentality is like nothing bad can happen to me, but things happen and then they wonder why, and then they try to find answers. That's what you said. Like that's how they get into astrology in the first place. So there's a whole thing, like there's a psychological thing required first, and that's how one can figure out what is Parashar saying or what is not saying, what a Rishi will say and what not. That was the initial question, isn't it? So for that, you need a certain kind of so even if I tell you, like if I was supposed to tell okay, this one Parashar has said, this is not Parashar, this is Parashar, this is not Parashar, that will not solve it for people. What next? How will you tell other things then? There'll be Faldipika, there'll be all these books. What is nonsense? What is sense? Point is to get to that point inside where you can differentiate and distinguish and discriminate. Okay.
The internal compass.
Yes. So that is the most important thing, because right now, otherwise it's all nonsense. One big nonsense which is happening right now in name of astrology. Okay, that's what I see it. Okay.
Yes, I mean it has become very commercial, and in a way, like you say, it's good because it can be a gateway to other things, to better things, but everyone can choose whatever they like, you know. I'm not gonna
I mean, it's not a question of choosing, but people have to be warned against it.
Exactly. But if people go to a certain astrologer, I mean, if they have, you know, the merit to go to an astrologer, that's, you know, it's also a thing of merit, I think.
I mean, the point is, as per their mentality, whatever the level of mentality they have, but there has to be some warning. I'm the only one who's giving a warning. Others are saying, just let it happen, whatever is happening. Okay. My point is that if things happen like this, there'll be negative consequences for both the person who is asking and the person who is telling. Okay. For both. No one likes to suffer.
You think, like, from what I hear from you, you think like the personal, you know, the free will is has a big role to play in this. But aren't grahas like the Caesars, like they seize you and put you on a path? And how can you navigate like with your free will?
The thing is, they just give you a thought. Okay. They give you a thought. Okay, for example, in your mind, you can get 100 thoughts.
Yes, of course.
Okay. Okay. Now, the point is that you decide what thought you're going to act by. Some thought is stronger, some thought is weaker. Okay, so if you consider strong graha, strong seizing, that is a strong thought. Now, you almost feel like, if this is right, I should do this. Okay. But finally, doing is your prerogative. It's your action. You can decide whether you're going to do or not do. Okay. It can't make you do. It can't take your hand and make you do something.
It's true. It can give you an inspiration too.
An inspiration, impulse.
Yes, impulse. Yes.
Impulse. But it cannot make you do it.
And even the nodes, aren't they more fated events? Because Rahu is also like Caesar.
No,
right?
they're fated events in the sense of events. There are two kinds of events. One which you do yourself, your action. One things which happen to you from outside, which you have no control over. Okay, you cannot control that. You can only control your own actions.
Yes.
You can't control what's going to happen to you from outside. So when grahas give us some events, they give from outside circumstance. They create a circumstance around you. Okay, circumstance they'll create around you. Now you will be trapped in that circumstance. Okay, but then you have to say, you have to have enough power within your own self to be able to break out of that circumstance. Okay, so for that you have to generate power and action, power through actions to break out of that circumstance, and that is called tapasya. In English, it's called penance, tapasya. That actions which you do yourself right now, which have created the power to break out of any kind of circumstance, grahas can create for you. See, then you are more free actually. Then you have your destiny in your own hands instead of the grahas' hands.
Yes, until you reach that level, you're more in the winds.
Yes. And so if anyone comes to Jyotish, right, or is to Vedic astrology, that is the understanding that should come to them. That is the situation. I am a victim or trapped in this circumstance. I'm always trapped by the circumstance. Now, if I want to get out of that, then I'll have to do something or get to a certain kind of thing where I can break out of the circumstance, which is through your current action. That's the only thing you have, which you can do. So this is the kind of knowledge which should be coming out of it. Not just this or that, it is a thing to give you some sort of understanding, as to what you have to do.
It's true. Yeah. I also have to say that like people are attracted to these like little things. I like when I do like a prediction of something concrete, for instance, your car is this color, then they kind of trust you more. So you kind of establish something and you can tell them like more deeper things because that's how it works kind of, they have to see that you tell them something concrete, like you have this illness, like your kidneys are suffering. For instance. So but these things, I think that's why they're useful, to kind of draw them in and then tell them more deeper things.
Yes, Carmen, another thing with this is that the person who is actually telling, they should also already be doing the right thing themselves.
That's
Okay.
true. That's true.
Yeah, if the person who's telling is not doing the right thing themselves, if they're not evolving themselves, their own selves, and if they're not taking the action to bring destiny into their own hands, then what are they doing in Jyotish?
But let me ask you, if a person is like super evolved, then why would they be doing astrology anyway?
Okay, I'll explain things to you. Astrology is about the fabric of the multiverse. Okay, it's about knowing the fabric. Okay, so all rishis, no matter how high they are, they'll all know astrology. Okay, they don't practice it, but they know it. Okay, they not. I mean, even there was kings. Okay, then kings had their astrologers, like whatever, they're like Vashisht and these kind of beings, but they're rishis. I mean, they were not like the ones who can guide and advise are at that position of knowing that clearly things. Then they can do that. Okay, they did that to advise something so that things go right. Okay, like, so if they're advising a king, that means the whole kingdom's fate depends on their advice to the king. So matter is of huge importance as a whole for well-being of everyone. Okay, so that's why they would do something like that. Okay, it was not a matter of just like dealing in this kind of thing. Okay, so my point is that being an astrologer it's a joke right now. Okay, anybody can be an astrologer. Do you know what I'm saying? But what I'm saying is, in ancient times it was not so. Okay, beings with a certain level or certain thing which have got destiny in their own hands, they can only talk about it. Others have no right to even speak any word about it at all. Okay, I mean, unless they want to accumulate negative karmas and go to more worse hells than they're already in. You know, I mean, I mean, there is no other point to this. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's the thing. Like Jyotish is not just about like obviously like prediction, and it's about creating a world. Like, for example, if a rishi has to make a new world, okay, so it has to know how to create it. Like, it's like a software engineer who creates a program or a computer game. Okay, like to create a computer game, you need to know the parameters and that things and the code and everything. That's what it is for. Okay, like, I mean, you can create world with this knowledge. Okay, it's not a joke kind of thing, where it is just for this level of thing. It's not. It's not at that level. So that's why they will know astrology, those beings, for a different level of a different purpose. So like, I mean, so that's the thing. Like, for example, the nakshatras, even these are like the 27 parameters for this
Yes,
thing.
I was going to ask you, like, what is kind of like the big difference between the consciousness of the grahas and the consciousness of the nakshatras?
Yeah. There's no difference exactly. The thing is how grahas are gonna create a field effect. Okay, like in the 9 grahas and the 27 nakshatras, how are they creating a field effect to create this creation? Okay, because all creation is a field effect. It's electromagnetic field effect. Okay, so what kind of frequencies, what kind of things you are doing within that field effect to create this? It's like it's the whole thing about creation. Okay, so things get created on an electromagnetic level, and they are seen on a psychological level in human interactions or that kind of thing. So it's like a whole gamut, like a holistic gamut of the whole thing, how it plays out, how something plays out. Like, for example, it's just like a computer game. Like, you you have these different things, and then how the things play out amongst those things. What are the limitations, parameters, and stuff? So rishis think in those terms. Okay, they are the reality creators. Okay, so this is a much bigger perspective of these things. With like what I'm telling, it's not this level of thing which people think.
Mundane.
Yeah, or whatever. It's like a joke level. It's a kiddish level. I won't even call it mundane. It's kiddish. It's just too like a 2-year-old has come to know something, and it's just, oh, mommy, I come to know this. Like, Jim saying, oh, this is a like a plastic thing, or it's like that. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but that's the level. Like, it's not even a kindergarten level astrology right now. Like, from what I have seen on this earth. Okay, it's a kindergarten level. It's not, and people are just thinking like any little thing satisfies them. Any little thing comes to them, oh, they're satisfied. Oh yeah, I know now. Okay. Okay. This, yeah. And this whole sense, like that people do it in school, like we have schools right now and people learn all kind of nonsense in school and they get this sense that, oh, I know what Earth is. I know what is happening inside the sun. Nuclear fusion is happening. You have never seen it. You don't know, but you get this idea that you know, like, okay, so all this false knowing, sense of knowing keeps on going up. Our school system is like that, unfortunately, that it gives false sense of knowing to people. And then they grow up, and then after that, they again getting more false sense of knowing, and it keeps on and on until whatever they know is all a lie. It's none of it is real. None of it is true. Okay, but
they go
you're
into
getting
a crisis.
yes. So if a person right now, a normal person, just says, I don't know anything, that'll be the best thing for them. Okay. Because from that point, they can start afresh and learn something for real. Okay. So being honest like that. I mean, majority of people on earth, I mean, know nothing really. Like Jim saying, they're just trapped in this. They're a victim of a circumstance and they're just here and they don't know why, what, like, and that's the reality. Okay. So people have to like be more honest and clear about their state, if they want to go into anything. And Jyotish can make you realize that if you treat it the right way. It can give you all those realizations, but you have to go into it with the right frame of mind, So this is what I would suggest, so to people like who are watching anywhere around the world. What I'm saying, like it is a sort of like a helpful warning I'm just giving, where,
Yes.
like just do not treat it like a kindergarten toy. Like
yes, I like that you are, going onto all these astrological channels and you give this warning, so the people understand, right? Like you're watching this, but you should get, what you get into.
Yes, I mean, because nobody's telling them, Carmina, you know about it. Nobody's telling them. Somebody has to do it. Okay, and I saw everybody, and everybody just wants to play in this thing, and nobody wants to actually take responsibility about this thing. And if you are responsible with this, it's not going to give good results. Finally, I'm only caring about people that they should not get into trouble in the future. Okay. Finally, all beings should get a chance. They're on this earth to evolve. Okay. So they should get a chance to rise, not make more negative karmas and go down further. Even though that is their choice, that's their free will. If they want to do so, they can. Okay. It's their free will is there. Okay. They can do that. But at least there has to be some voice of reason that, like, don't do this. Okay. So that's what I'm saying. So, I mean, even this, like a PRASHANT thing, you brought up that point, and that's why I say that nobody can just, from the West or anything, can just look into a book and to say like, okay, which part is right, which part is wrong, or it's just not possible. How will they do that? I mean, they don't know Sanskrit. Okay.
Yeah, I guess just the common sense, like you also, I guess it's useful to learn Sanskrit, but like you said, if they use the coded language, you have to immerse yourself in that work and that coded language to see what feels, true and what doesn't. So it's like...
for example, it's like, for example, if somebody is a poet and somebody likes a poet, and then they can tell that that this poem is by that poet, and someone makes a copy poem like that poet, then you have to be able to tell that, oh, it's not by that poet. This is someone else who has done this. Okay, because it doesn't feel like them or it doesn't seem like them. But to get that sense at that level is one thing. To get a sense of the level of the rishis is another thing. So it's about that same sense, actually.
Yes.
And that's common sense comes with connecting with nature and stuff. That's why I always tell people to connect with nature and stuff, at least.
Yes, that's a very good advice.
Basic minimum level, like, because most of the people have never seen the nakshatras in the sky. They've never seen that thing. They've never actually, they're not knowing what they're doing. They have just seen them in their softwares, like.
Yes, they're just some points, some drawings.
Yes. They have not seen that. So I would suggest that people get into it holistically, properly with nature, and then only like they will come to see the truth and the reality of whatever nonsense is there. They can basically like go through all the things to get to the pearl. rather, rather than just get lost in all this. And I know there are a lot of astro junkies right now. This world is full of astro junkies, and they just want information, astro information. Anything will do, whether it's right, wrong, doesn't matter. Just give me some info. Like, doesn't have to be anything which is so. I mean, there'll always be people who will come and say things confidently and say like, yeah, that's it. This is right. This works. This is a rule. This works. And people are lapping it up. And then they get 100,000 rules, maybe 200,000, and then they will apply all 300,000 rules to a chart, and then they'll go crazy just trying to apply that rule.
Yes, that's why you can't really program techniques into a software because, you have to have the common sense, the intuition also to pick what is there.
And this craziness, I mean, the point is, if a Jyotishi is not actually evolving or at a very high level themselves, like, then why are they doing that? I mean, they should not become a commercial thing just to make money and stuff, because you should do something else for that because
exactly.
then you get less negative karmas than dabbling in this. So
yes, I've seen people try many careers that didn't work, and then maybe I can get famous with this, but it's their own karma.
Yes, karma. But you can. I'm not saying that you cannot do it. You can do it. You can get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
But in time, you won't.
Yes, if you are not having the correct mindset and sincerity, like true.
Yeah. So I would not suggest anyone should have this as a profession, anyways. Okay. I mean, because no being is, I find, at that level with themselves even. I think they all need learning themselves, and they need to evolve, and they need to work on themselves. They need to do things like, I mean, rather than, interfere with the destinies of others, which they don't have any, that thing to do right now, qualification to actually, they're not qualified to do that. Okay. So this is my general warning to every practicing astrologer, even, that they should, even what I'm saying people might not like, I mean, but I don't care about that, like that, because truth has to be said. The level is what it is, and it is, I'm not going to dress it up in any other way what the situation is. So
So I'm going to ask you one last question. So do you think the soul, I mean, what is, in your opinion, the journey of the soul after it stops materializing here on earth? Is it possible for a soul to become more powerful and become like a rishi or something? Is it like a hierarchy in the universe?
Yes.
What exactly happens? Do we become black matter or?
Okay. Everybody has a spirit, not a soul. Okay, spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Beings are spirit. Okay, spirit, if is fine right now, it's on earth. It's trapped on earth. It's trapped in the cycle of birth and death and reincarnation out here. Now it can break out of the cycle. Okay, and if it breaks out of the cycle, the thing it reaches is called heaven. Okay, now that heaven place is a place where there is no disease, no death. Okay, it's a fun place. It doesn't have all this nonsense which people struggle with down here. Okay, so spirit can reach that level. Okay, first, and if a spirit can reach that level, from there, if it wants to learn more about the multiverse, it wants more knowledge, and it still keeps on. It is not satisfied by the pleasures of heaven, let's say. Then it can learn more from there, and then reach a level higher, and then reach a level higher. If it keeps on going like that, then at some point it can become a rishi. Okay, so these are the stages. First step is to get out of the cycle of birth and death here. That is if you can't even do that, then there is no point even thinking about rishi and any of these things. Okay, because that is way out of the whole thing. So that is what, there's no black hole anybody goes into, anything like a black matter or any of that. Okay, beings, once they live this life, the spirits, the beings, they come back as per their karmas, and then they go live another life. And you don't get out of the cycle of birth and death unless you reach that point where you are ready to go to heaven. In the sense, you're ready to behave there. The higher planes you can't get to until you are fit. Everything is what? Qualification, right? Fitness, qualification. Okay. So if you're fit and qualified, you get there. Okay.
Because yours is like a training ground, right?
Training ground. Yes. Earth is a training ground. It's a prison training ground. Like, you can't get out until you learn. So there is a prison aspect here. Okay, you can't get out until you learn. Okay, so and it's a very limited playing field. Okay, and while you're playing, there are a lot of problems as well. Okay.
But I want to say something a little optimistic. Like, even if you don't learn after 1,000,000 years under the sun, you get purified.
It's not purified. It's you sorting is happening.
Yes.
Okay. So the more sorted you get, the more you will learn that I cannot carry on in this existence forever. Yes. I mean, the more sense comes to you, the more you realize that this is not a fun existence, that where you get disease, death, disease, death, disease, death, disease, death. This is not a fun cycle. Whenever that intelligence strikes you, finally, intelligence and sense comes, right? You might go through something 100 times, 200 times, 300 times, 400 times. Sometimes some intelligence and sense will come to you. And that is the most important thing. What you call purification is just intelligence and sense. Okay. So once you get that intelligence and sense, you will act as per that intelligence and that sense, which is like 5th and 9th house of the chart.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And you will act as per that intelligence and sense, and you will try to get out. So any being with intelligence and sense will try to get out of the cycle. Okay. That's a simple, clear thing. There is no two words about it, like, two ways about it. Okay, so the whole point is, I mean, and even if someone goes into astrology, then they should come to know, there's a 5th house, intelligence house. There's a 9th house, higher sense house. Okay, so that should give the question, what is this intelligence? What is this sense? Okay, what are these things actually? Really, like, so from there, people can get to the right conclusions about their existence on earth. So.
Yes, like what is Dharma? What is a Dharma house? What?
All these questions arise, right? You go to Jyotish, so that's exactly the point. Like, so Dharma of any being is to raise themselves, which is your first. First is yourself. Okay, 5 is your intelligence. 9th is your Dharma. Your Dharma is to raise yourself. So that's the only Dharma. There is no other Dharma. Okay, so that is the whole thing. Like, so these things have to be understood properly in those terms, So that's what I'm saying, that it's actually optimistic. I mean, in Jyotish, if you come to that thing, if you get this realization, then that's a good thing. Okay, then you start doing the right thing. Finally, any science or anything should start making you do the right actions, right? Otherwise, what's
the point?
Yes.
It's true.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you, what is your opinion on psychics?
Okay, so let's say psychic. Okay, the word psychic would mean that P-Psi. Psi means like a system signal is coming. You are like an antenna, and you're catching a signal. Like, there are signals floating around in this ether and thing around us, the ocean, all the time. And specific beings through their antennas are catching certain signals. Okay, so you might catch a signal about some being or something which is going to happen to them or something like that. Okay, so that means you got a premonition and you like caught that information, or you told that to the person, or you didn't tell that to the person. But it will not happen all the time. Okay, it'll happen sometimes with certain signals, with certain things, and there are beings who are told these things by entities. There are entities here, different entities.
Some people hear voices, some people see
voices, and they tell them into their ear these things. Okay, the thing about, like, if someone comes in front of them, that voice will tell them about that person, what their past is, what their thing is, what has just happened to them, and they can say these things to that person, and that person will be very impressed. oh, you know so much about me. Like, how did you know all this? Like, like all that. But one, I would suggest that people should not deal with those entities which are telling those things, because it's of no use. And again, there's a price to pay for that, actually, to deal with those entities. I mean, more, and I'm not going to go into what those entities are right now, because that's a big topic in itself. Okay, but I would suggest that people should not go into that kind of thing, because there is a certain kind of, if you get something, then you pay something as well. And the psychic thing also, like you have a transmitter, like, or you have a receiver. So you have a receiver and it works. It's fine. If it's your own receiver, that's still okay to function by that receiver. That's not a bad thing in itself, but obviously that doesn't mean that you are an evolved being or you're evolving. That's not a sign of your evolution, or it's just like you have this particular receiver which is receiving certain signals within this ether. That's all being a psychic is, so like it's people call it sixth sense, but I just call it like receiving signals, because sixth senses is something which works all the time. Sixth sense is like, you get, anytime you do anything for your own self, even, you come to know beforehand that this is the thing, this is how it's going to be, so that is a thing which stays all the time. Just like all the five senses, like your eyes are seeing all the time. Right now they're seeing all the time. You're smelling all the time. So in the same way, the sixth sense should be all the time. So if you have that is more than psychic. Okay, that is more evolved thing. That shows you have a certain degree of evolution. Okay, the psychic thing is just a thing which can happen to a lot of beings, and they catch various signals depending on certain placements in the chart, even, like moon, Rahu, and particular kind of placements in the Jyotish chart. Okay, so then that is a particular kind of thing, but I won't consider it evolution or anything. And the other thing with dealing with entities, that I would say people should not do right now, whatever in that state they are in. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes. Do you want to add anything else to that?
No. I'm just that I think that's enough. If they can process what I've said, it'll be quite a lot, like Jim saying.
Yes. If they get to the end of the interview, then
yes.
It means they paid attention.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much for being here today. I appreciate sharing your time to be and impart your knowledge. And maybe we'll be seeing you again in the future.
Yes. Nice. Nice.
Thank you. Goodbye. Goodbye, everyone.